Spectrovision Radio.
While our government's official position is not to speculate on this subject, we can choose to let our minds explore other possibilities, to use our imaginations. For if we consider that astroscientists agree on one point, that the possibility of life elsewhere is not only quite probable, some feel it is there without a doubt. Let us suppose then that these objects are real space vehicles, extraterrestrial in origin, and not an illusion of the mind.
I'm Ryan Sprague, and you are now somewhere in the skies. Welcome to Somewhere in the Skies. I am somewhere in New York City. Last interview you guys heard, I was in Japan. This week we're in New York City. Next week I'll be back home in Scotland, but I could not think of a better guest to have on while I'm in where I thrive the most, where I feel the best, and that's New York City. So to celebrate, today we have first-time guest Megan Medick joining us from News Nation. Megan, welcome to Somewhere in the Skies.
Hey, Ryan, thank you so much for having me on. This is an incredible experience.
Oh, I'm so excited. I mean, there's obviously the elephant in the room. I have to ask you about
Okay.
what's going on in the UFO world with Trump and Obama and all
Yeah.
of that, UFOs in the mainstream. But
Yeah.
before we get there, a lot of our viewers and listeners will know you from Reality Check with Ross
Okay.
Coulthard on News
Yeah.
Nation. For those who may not be familiar with who you are, can you give us a little origin story, I guess, of who Megan
Yeah.
is, what got you into the world of media and all of that. And yeah, tell us a little about yourself if you don't mind.
Yeah, Ryan, I'm absolutely happy to answer that. And first and foremost, I cannot believe that anyone would find this interesting. So thank you to anyone who is listening and actually wants to know. But yeah, my career started in the media when I was really little. When I was a very young girl, one of my school assignments was to interview somebody in the community. And my dad had a connection with the Nevada governor and Bob List. So I took my ass to Bob's house, Mr. List's house, and I had, just like a notebook and a pen. And I sat down and I absolutely grilled this man within an inch of his life about like Yucca Mountain and all these different things. And I'm like scribbling my notes like fast and fast as we go. And when we leave, the poor governor grabbed my dad and was like, that was the hardest interview I've ever done. And so I was like, well, maybe we're onto something here. Like maybe elementary school Meg knows what's up and knows what's going to happen. So I went to USC, University of Southern California, for broadcast journalism. And I've just always like heavily relied on the fact that I am the nosiest person in the entire world. Like I just want to know everything about everyone. Like I want to know your secrets, like what's in your wallet. Like, I don't know, is it my business? I'm not sure. So getting into journalism was kind of just a very easy play for me. It's just like where I naturally thrived, and I love writing. When I was in high school, I would get to my English class, and our teacher would be like, "All right, we've got a group paper. You guys can pick your partners." And someone would try to pick me, and they'd be like, "Oh, Megan was picked in first period. Like she was already like she's gone." So
Wow.
yeah, I just love journalism. So getting into this was just kind of the natural fit for me always. And I'm so thankful for such an enriched career with moves and heartbreaks and accomplishments and a lot of things along the way. So yeah, I'm just a nosy girl. Just a nosy girl. Is that the answer to the question?
Yeah, that's what makes the best journalists. First of all, fight on. I spent
Yeah,
2 years.
you know it, baby.
Yeah. My partner went to USC as well, so definitely
Love
I
that.
feel you there. I loved it. And it's cool that you've had these opportunities to kind of see the world. And that's what
Yeah.
things like journalism and podcasting and stuff like that does. It's
Mhm.
afforded me these incredible opportunities to go to UFO places I never would have been
Yeah.
able to do
So cool.
without this. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Two-pronged question for you.
Okay.
We'll dive into UFOs a little bit in a little bit here, but
Sure.
I want to know how you got connected with News Nation and obviously Ross Coulthard. We knew of
Mhm.
him in the UFO world, but were you working with News Nation prior to Reality Check, or how did that all come about that you became the producer for like pretty much right now the world's leading UFO reporter? I'd say in the mainstream media, as it were.
Yeah, and even you saying that, I'm like, "What?" Like, that's so crazy to me, like, we're just such a small team, like, pushing forward. Yes, I was already with News Nation. I was actually with Nexstar Media before News Nation, before that, I was with Tribune Media, which Nexstar bought. I was the executive producer for an incredible station out in San Diego, a local station there, Fox 5, which my best memories of the TV industry are working at that station with those people. So I was with Tribune Media, Nexstar bought Tribune. So now I'm with Nexstar Media. And I had been an executive producer there for about 5 years. And then Nexstar announced that they were launching News Nation. And when that kind of came across, I had known, some of the higher ups within the company who were looking to get people to jump ship from their local and get over to News Nation and move. And it just was the right time for me. So I threw my hat in the ring. I said, okay, they came to me and I said, okay, I'm interested. Let me, just throw my hat in the ring. And I, came out, did about 1 million interviews. They told me 1,000 people had applied. And in the end, they hired 2 executive producers to come and launch News Nation. And I was one of them. So I moved, I came, and it just was like, I walked in, I'm like, all right, let's see this big network. And there was absolutely nothing there. It was a concrete room. And I was like, this is the studio. And I'm like, come again, come again.
You
This is the
got
studio.
punked.
And I'm like, and it is where, and PS, it's also 2020 and it's COVID. So like, you're gonna have to design this whole studio, but like from your house. And I'm like, oh, okay. So like use my imagination. Perfect. And then it was like, oh, here's the newsroom, bricks, concrete everywhere. And I'm like, once again, like use our imagination. So I was with News Nation from the very beginning. I've been with them since 2020, and I basically kind of executive produced each show as they came. We started as 3 hours in prime time. Then it was like, hey, we're adding an hour here, we're adding an hour there. So I kind of moved around and helped develop and hire and get each show on. And then I became the executive producer of the morning show, Morning in America. And that's where I really have the most experience in news, is running morning shows. So I did that for a while, and then I just needed a timeout. It's a lot, starting from a lot. And that other executive producer that I mentioned at the beginning that was hired, he only made it a couple of months. So then it was just me, really pushing forward. So I just kind of needed a break. So I took a little break. And when I was ready to come back, I had always been in good graces with everybody and chatting with everybody. So when it was time to come back, I wanted to do something that I could kind of be at home a little more and not be so stressed out all the time. I started to really value this little thing called sleep. I don't know if all of you
Mm.
have heard about it, but I had not slept in a very long time. And then once I started sleeping, I was like, I'll never give this up. So they were like, hey, we've got some podcasts going. We're really trying to build the podcast space. And I was interested in that already. So then I came back and Reality Check was, just kind of getting its feet wet. And that's it. That's the magic. I kind of stepped in, and Ross and I really hit it off. We just really hit it off.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, and you're no joke. I mean, I could see an Emmy Award right behind
Oh,
you there.
yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, is that
Yeah.
pretentious, by the way?
Was
Do I
was
move that? I've, like,
you
gone back and
totally
forth
didn't
with,
mean to do
like,
that, yeah.
no, because, like, I put it there and I'm like, "Oh, cool," and now sometimes I, like, see it in the videos and I'm like, "Dang, Meg, are you just a total jerk asshole? Like, maybe you should
No,
move that." So if it's a little
please.
pretentious, let me know, but yeah, I won that, so
That's amazing. No, and I mean, that shows, what you have accomplished and how hard you have
yeah,
worked
mm.
to get to that point. I've got some, little alien awards that I'm gonna be putting up when I get
Hell
back
yeah.
home to my
Let's
office. Yeah,
go.
be proud. Be proud of it for
Yes.
sure. Well, I gotta ask now, being the producer for Ross is one thing, but now
Mhm.
you've really stepped up and you're almost like a co-host. You're branching off and kind of doing your own things too, which I do want
Yeah,
to talk
thanks
to you
for
a little
having.
about
Mhm.
later on. But
Totally.
I have to ask this question because I get asked this a lot when I'm interviewed. Like, how did you get interested in UFOs? Or were you even interested in UFOs prior to working with Ross? Have you ever
Yeah.
seen one? Like, what's your history with the UFO topic prior to News Nation?
Yeah, well, I never thought the topic was taboo. I was always like, why aren't more people covering this or talking about this? It's a massive thing. And I've always believed people with sightings and experiences, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, the stories that you hear, they're just all too similar to think there's nothing here. Was I working on the UFO beat or ingrained in this story before I started working with Ross? I was not. I was a daily news pusher peddler. I'm getting a 3-hour live television show on the air person. I'm following news of day. But as I don't know if I said I grew up in Las Vegas, Area 51 was a
Of
big
course.
thing. Like our minor league baseball team at the time was the 51s, like alien mascot everywhere. So I never thought it was a taboo thing or something not to really talk about. And then you start working in the mainstream media and you just realize it's like not a real subject to people. So no, I mean, reality check, full transparency was what pushed me deep into the subject. It was not really on my radar before, other than oh yeah, I believe that.
Yeah, because a lot of people either have seen a UFO or they grew up watching the X Files, things like that. So it's cool that kind of they threw you into the deep end with
Yeah.
this one,
Yeah,
and
the
now,
deep end's a nice way to put it
whew,
for sure.
very nice way. I know. A romantic way of saying it. It is
Mhm.
a deep, dark corner for sure, and in some ways, but
Yeah.
exciting and mysterious nonetheless. Have you ever seen a UFO? I have to ask, or if you're willing to share, that
Oh, yeah,
is.
of course, I'm willing to share at this point, right? And
Okay,
it's just
cool.
like, what are what are we getting at?
Right.
Yeah, I actually saw an orb in Greece in October, and I talked about this with Ross on Reality Check, and I've been extremely open about what I saw. Sitting there looking at the sunset. I was in Greece. I just a big orb came down slow, very, very rhythmic. I tracked it all the way until it just disappeared. And I immediately said, I saw a UAP, UFO, that was an orb. It just, in my mind, could not have been anything else. So that was my first experience of like actually seeing something. But of course, you can bet your bottom dollar that I am looking up into the sky 24/7 now. And anything that I see, I'm like, that better be a plane, that better be this, or I'm gonna check the flight path. So anything in the sky now, I'm like, I want to know what the hell it is.
Yep, we hooked you in. I love, but
Yeah.
that's what these phenomena do. Like once you
Yeah.
experience it once, like it like opens something up and you
Mhm.
start seeing UFOs everywhere or making everything become a UFO, I guess too. But
Yeah.
what do you have you come up with any theories or explanations to what it is that you saw, or is it kind of on the shelf as a genuine UFO
It was
and
an
you
orb.
don't want to
Yeah.
know? It was
Yeah.
an orb.
That was an
Yeah.
orb.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, look, it could absolutely be something else. I am an extremely open-minded person and I love using common sense logic for anything, but I was so locked in on this. And Ross has been very open with me about like that orb came to you, that orb wanted you to see it for a reason. So, I I like thinking it was an orb. Happy to talk about it, if somebody says it wasn't, but I've actually had so many viewers reach out since I told that story and email us and post to us on X and Instagram saying that they're seeing orbs everywhere in
Yeah.
Greece. And I wrote back to some people and I was like, "Here was the location and the date," and they're like, "Oh, yeah, like, we're seeing that all the time." Not
Interesting.
crazy, not crazy.
No, you're not. I mean, I do a series here on Somewhere in the Skies called Witness Accounts. I'm not in the
Mhm.
episodes. It's literally just people call in and tell their UFO stories in their own words. And I specifically remember a girl, she had to be in like her 20s or
Mhm.
so, sent me her UFO sighting in Greece. And it was of like 5 or 6 orbs doing this like
Wow.
choreographed dance almost. And this was like they were not drones. The experience happened when she was a child, and drones were just not a thing back then. So,
Mhm.
Greece holds a lot of mystery. So I definitely believe you for sure.
Yeah, and I actually love Greece for that reason because there is so much history there, and I love thinking about, like, the Greek gods and their temples and, like, what they knew that we don't. Just seeing an orb there really made me go down a rabbit hole of thinking about, what is God and how many gods that there were in Greek history, and it's like, was our God my God as a Christian, like, is my God over my planet and my solar system, is that a descendant of Zeus, et cetera, et cetera. So I won't bore you with the craziness that was going through my mind, but it just was a lot to think about and things that I'm not scared to think about. And I don't think anyone else should be either.
Yeah, for sure. Religion can be a touchy thing when it comes to the UFO topic. I mean, people will often view their UFO experience through a religious lens, whether they're
Mhm.
Buddhist, Jewish, Christian, like you name it,
Yeah,
Scientologist, I don't know.
yeah.
But like, does that affect what you experienced at all? Does your faith?
Totally. Every single day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ev every single day, I think about, am I going back on my faith?
Mm.
Am I not being true to my religion? Should I not be looking at this? And I always go back to, no, it's okay. Like, it's okay. These are things that we need to question. These are things that we need to think about. And I really would love to spend more time going through, what we're seeing in the UAP community and comparing it to things that are happening in the Bible so I can feel more secure in my religion. And that's a personal thing, and it's personal for every single person. But have not been shy about the fact that I am a Christian and that I do try to relate the UAP topic to Christianity. But sometimes that's how it helps me make sense of it in my head. And I'm not the kind of person that believes everything I'm told. I like to question everything. I like to, again, think critically about everything. So I think that there are a lot of answers here and some things that we'll never find the answers for, but it's okay to think about it, look at something in a different lens, and kind of use the Bible and religion or whatever, method of religion you subscribe to or believe in as kind of like your guiding light through the whole process with the phenomena.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, I mean, I grew up Christian as well, and like I struggled for so long. I remember going to confession at my
Mhm.
Catholic church, and
Mhm.
I like went in and I told the priest like it wasn't even a confession. It was more of like, is it okay for me to like pursue this UFO stuff, aliens? Like, is it okay as a Christian to believe in
Mhm.
aliens? I guess is kind of what I asked him, and took him, a little bit to be like, what? This is not what I signed up for. This is not what I was expecting.
He's like Caroline Levitt in the press room, like,
Yeah.
"Duh." How
Oh my
dare you,
god.
Ryan?
Right? I definitely threw him a curveball that day.
Yeah.
But his answer really surprised me and I loved it. He was like, dude, like believe what you want to believe in. God is all powerful.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't he have created life
Mhm.
elsewhere in the universe?
Mhm.
And he's like, you want to know my thoughts? I believe in aliens. And then that's all I needed to hear. That was really
Yeah.
cool of him to do
That's
that. So
awesome.
yeah. Well, I'm
Yeah.
glad you
Yeah.
were able to kind of integrate that into your past beliefs and your future beliefs
Yeah,
too.
and look
That's cool.
look, I don't wanna be a hypocrite, so it's like I don't want to say I'm a Christian, but then also say I believe in aliens, the phenomena X, Y, and Z is an orb, an angel, and then not try to, connect the 2. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, we gotta practice what we preach and make my life I wanna make my life make sense. And I'm actively still doing that. I absolutely would never say that my life makes sense or I have it together because that would not be true. That would not be true.
I think we all are with you on that one. That's what life is, just trying to
Yeah.
make sense of why we're here, for
Yeah.
sure. I guess rewinding back to reality check. Now, obviously, I'm sure most of our audience is familiar with what it is, what you guys do, but it's refreshing.
Okay,
Again, I'm
good.
gonna say that like
Awesome.
there's so much mainstream coverage of the UFO topic since like 2017, since that New York Times article
Yep.
came out. But it is so at this point redundant and they're still playing the Tic Tac video. They're still
I
doing. Oh my
that
god.
that just drives me absolutely nuts. It drives me
Yeah.
so it's nuts. I'm not gonna derail you. Please continue.
No, I am with you on that. And that's kind of my point. And the question I want to ask you is they only go so far. There's never
Mhm,
any follow-up, even
mhm,
if they do and I'm talking about the mainstream media here. Your
mhm.
CBS's, your Fox, your CNN, your ABC, or even over in Europe where I live currently, the BBC. Like they'll scratch the surface of it if there's like a military person involved, if
Yeah.
AARO and the Department of Defense have said something, but they won't dig deeper. They won't talk to, you know, the Jake Barbers. They won't
Mhm, mhm.
really dig into a bit more of the fringe stuff, and I hate using that word, but
Yeah.
you guys at News Nation, you kind of do it all. You will interview um, these types of people, but
Mhm.
you will go there. You'll go to the other places that I think most mainstream media is afraid to do. Um,
Yeah.
whose decision was that? And what is it like kind of, uh, being considered kind of mainstream media as News Nation has become and has grown to be in the past, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years
Yep,
since,
yep.
it started. Yeah, what's that like kind of being the trailblazers for the UFO topic? You're really the only ones doing it.
Yeah, that feels really good, and I'm really proud of that, and I'm super thankful for that opportunity. I think the media handling of the UFO, I mean, they absolutely laugh at this, and I think that's insane because most of the things that the mainstream media covers is clearly not real, push propaganda, or telling us what to think. So to me, that's hypocritical that they wouldn't cover the UFO topic more seriously, and it's fascinating to me that, like, the Pentagon has confirmed UAP encounters, but the media is gonna ignore it. But then a
Yeah.
couple high profile people are gonna bring it up, and then all of a sudden it's mainstream media. Like, to me, that's telling me that the stigma was never the evidence, but it was more about controlling the narrative. So, I'm
Mm,
looking at this as like a narrative control situation when it comes to the media and the coverage of it. When it comes to News Nation and the interviews that we have done, I mean, all credit goes to Ross. These are Ross's gets. These are Ross who's working these sources, who's spending years and years talking to people, convincing them to come forward, doing mock interviews. So when we cover something absolutely massive, all credit goes to Ross. He is the one who is working tirelessly and endlessly. And when it actually got to News Nation in the first place, it's because Ross brought Grusch, David Grusch, to News Nation, and he was looking for a network to partner with because he had worked on getting David Grusch for so long and had done a mock interview with him. So he actually network shopped to see who would take the story and help support him and put this up. And News Nation is the one that said yes. And they were just getting started out and they weren't afraid to touch the taboo topic because they were looking to do stories that were different than the other mainstream media. So News Nation said yes. It obviously went bonkers. Congressional
mhm.
hearings were held. News Nation's name became a household name. And then it was kind of like, okay, the next logical step is to keep Ross on and do reality check. And guess what? We're going to let him do whatever he wants because he obviously knows what the hell he's doing and what the hell he's talking about. And he's basically holding the whole network up on a pedestal, you know?
All credit to Ross,
Yeah.
obviously. I want to show you something. I was, like I said, I was in Japan for a month. I lived in Osaka recently, and I tried to hit up every bookstore I possibly could while I was there, looking for UFO books in
Okay.
Japanese, which I'm
Yeah.
currently learning how to read.
Oh,
Kanji, katakana, like everything. Um,
incredible.
I'm trying. I said, "Oh gosh, I have a long way to go." But, I wanted to show you this, and maybe you could pass this on to Ross. I
Okay. Let's see.
found Ross's book in a
Yeah.
Japanese bookstore in Japanese,
Oh
and I
my
was so
gosh.
excited
That is
when I
so
found it.
cool. That is so cool. Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
I'll let him know. He'll love that. He will love that.
please
That is
do.
very cool.
But kind of to show, like, yeah, this isn't just a US topic, and it's not just the United States who is interested or getting
Mhm.
involved. Like
Mhm.
Japan is slowly getting involved. They have a group that's trying to kind of mimic AARO in the United States and stuff like that. So it's a global phenomenon, I think,
Yeah.
is my way of putting that.
Yeah,
But
totally. But they should not mimic Arrow because Arrow is kind of a joke,
I do
but
want to
good for
ask
them.
you about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Good for them.
We covered what you had to say about Arrow in our live stream this past week because you brought up some really good points. And
Oh,
yeah,
thank
I do
you.
want to ask you about that. But
Yeah.
questions.
Mhm.
This is where I think you truly shine as the producer. We talked a little off air about like, what you do when you're
Mhm.
producing these episodes of Reality Check, and you are the one who does the Q&A episodes, which
Mhm.
are my favorites, because
Thank
it
you.
really is when we get follow up, where we get more clarity on maybe the main episode of Reality Check or a guest you had on.
Mhm.
It's a place for people like us to ask more questions and
Mhm.
kind of get a feel for where the story might be heading after Reality Check goes off the air. So, yeah, I'd love to know. Like, I'm sure you get thousands of these questions. How do you even
Yeah.
whittle it down to like 8 or 9 or however many you guys do it in episode? And are there any questions that were like so bonkers that you were like, we can't go there, Ross? Yeah. What are your
Well,
thoughts?
another thing about the questions is it actually gives us a really good pulse on what you guys want. So a lot of times people will send in these long emails and there's a question buried in there somewhere, but it actually gives us a good idea of like, oh, people want like Westall covered. People want more information on Rendlesham Forest. And so let's do some episodes. Let's find some people to talk about that. So it's not just a great thing for you guys to get access to Ross. It's a great opportunity for us to know what you're actually thinking about and what you're actually interested in. So that's another part that I love about the Q&A. But really when I'm going through the questions, I'm trying to find people who we have not done a question from before. There are a lot of amazing, super loyal fans that'll send questions every single week. And I'm trying not to, play favorites. I'm also looking for something that Ross has not talked about before in the Q&A. It's I would never expect anybody to have seen every single episode, every single Q&A, but a lot of times we get asked the same question over and over.
Mhm.
So Ross will cover it and then I'm like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Like I want to use this person's question, but he just talked about that." So I do try to reply to those emails with the link of the episode that Ross covered and say, "Hey, we talked about this, but I do love this question. Thank you." So they know that, we're here, we're seeing you and we're hearing you. But people will send like a novel. I'm like, "Well, look, I can read, but like you want me to on the fly read that entire thing?" Like Ross's eyes are going to glaze over. And I actually watched him do a live Q&A in LA this weekend, and people were asking the like questions of that nature, very, very, very long, drawn out. And Ross and it would go, "Is there a question here? Is there a question there? What's the question?" So I just know, like, I know him, and I know he's not going to love if I read a whole thing like that. But I like those emails still because it gives me an idea of what you guys are thinking of. But I'm looking for things that are going to make Ross think, things that you guys actually want to hear. I hate throwing up questions that are just like, "Oh, here's a time filler." I want there to be a takeaway for the viewers. Like I care about you guys. I want you to get real information from this man. So I'm looking for a good succinct question from different people and stuff that he has not touched a lot on. As far as crazy questions, like you name it, I've read it, I've seen it, I've heard it. I always laugh when someone is like, "Hey Meg, can you just shoot me Ross's phone number really quick? I want to give him, I'm just gonna ring him and I just got a quick question for him. Yeah, not gonna be a big deal. Like I know so and so knows so and so who knows Ross from so and so, so just shoot me the number." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, like what?"
Totally.
Yeah.
Here's his home address. You want his credit card number
Yeah,
too? Yeah.
I'm pretty sure a part of my job is, protecting this man. So, like, no, like, I'm fielding the questions for a reason. Um, but yeah, hey, shoot your shot, shoot your shot. I'm in the emails, I'm looking at you, I'm seeing you. So, yeah, I mean, the viewer engagement is off the charts, which is why we started the Q&A in the first place, is there was so much engagement and we were like, "We gotta do more. People want more Ross, so, like, let's give it to him." And now here we are.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's really taken off. I love that. And you're right. You heard it here first, guys. Shoot your shot. Send her your craziest questions possible, but stop asking
Yeah.
for Ross's phone
Yeah,
number.
it's
It's never going to happen.
I'm just not gonna give it to you. I'm not
It's
gonna
not
give it to you.
happening.
I don't care if you're Ross's mom, I'm not giving it to you.
Hey guys, Ryan Sprague here from Somewhere in the Skies. The podcast has always been and always will be completely free for you to listen to. But creating it every week takes a lot of time, research, and resources. And to be honest, it's just never been free for me to create. That's why we built a few simple ways for you to help support the show and keep it going strong. You can join us over on Patreon or through Apple Premium. Both offer the same awesome perks. Ad-free episodes, early access to new content, exclusive bonus shows, and even priority to ask our guests your listener questions. It's a quick and easy way to support what we do for just a few bucks a month. And right now, you can even try Patreon for free for a week to see if it's right for you. To learn more and to join, head over to patreon.com/somewhereskies. That's patreon.com/somewhereskies. Or hit that subscribe button right at the top of your Apple Podcast feed. Thank you so much for listening, for supporting, and as always, keep looking up. I have to ask about the National Press Club event.
Okay,
Now,
yeah, of course.
thank God Reality Check covered that. Otherwise, the world wouldn't have seen it. No one else had really was live streaming
Mhm.
it or anything like that. So, truly, we have you guys to thank for being
Great,
one of
I'm
the
so glad.
only stations to broadcast that thing, like a
Good.
historic moment. Um,
Yeah, I'm so glad that everyone enjoyed that, it's
oh,
amazing.
it was amazing. Yeah, we watched it here on the channel as well. We had wonderful feedback. James will be on the show, I believe, in the next couple weeks to talk about it. But
He rules.
he's awesome. I have a crazy story about hiking the Highlands of Scotland with James,
Oh,
looking for the location of the Calvine UFO, and we got shot at.
oh my gosh.
Story for another time. I'll be telling it when James comes on the show, but
Wow, wow.
to be continued. Yeah, yeah. But what was that experience like? Being in Washington, covering the event. I know that you also covered some of the behind the scenes stuff that went on,
Mhm,
closed door
mhm.
meetings with Congress members, and what was I'm sure it was all a whirlwind, but what really was like your memorable takeaways from being there for that event?
I mean, so many things. It absolutely was a whirlwind, and the decision to go was really mine. Were talking to James, and then I was on the phone with our executive producer Andy, and I was like, what are we doing? Like, there are planes, there are hotels. Like, let's just do it. Let's just book it, and I'm gonna run out the door. And it's more like a ask for forgiveness later, and let's just see what we can do. But James, true to his word, was like, text me when you're here. I'm going to bring you around. I'm going to help you. And I was a little nervous, going to a hotel by myself. And I was in the lobby, and James came and he got me, and he brought me into the room, and everybody was so kind and so welcoming. Jeff Nicatelli was right there. He was the first person that I saw, and him and I have obviously corresponded since he testified in September at the UAP hearing in Washington. Him and I have been in contact. So it was great to actually see him in person and get to grab him and talk to him. And then it was just like second nature. It was just like critical thinking on the fly, listening to these people give their testimony. And like, what's the natural next question? So I just kind of hustled. I just did what I needed to do for you guys. I'm not there for myself. I'm there to get new information for you guys. The story's 30 years old, and new things keep coming forward and keep developing. So my biggest takeaway is just meeting awesome people and getting to talk to the witnesses and really hear their story and try to get some new information to push the envelope a little bit.
Megan, it was such a incredible event. I'm so happy you guys were able to cover it. New witnesses coming forward with the Varhinia case. So I feel like
Mhm.
we've only scratched the surface. Obviously, James is pursuing new leads when it comes to getting videos of the event. The plane that allegedly flew in and then flew out with the
Mhm.
bodies. Like, the story's
So
only
insane.
just
So
begun.
insane.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. One of the very first Q&A episodes that I did with Ross, somebody asked about Varginha is pronounced 1,000 different ways, and I had not heard of it. So I asked Ross before we started, I was like, how do you pronounce this? And he told me, and I was like, there is no way I'm saying that on camera. How stupid do you think I am that I'm gonna say vagina on camera with you? Like, I don't think so. And then I obviously did it, and now I've said it 1,000,000 times. I'm like, is my career based around Varginha that I thought I would never think about again? But once you hear the story, it's like, oh, okay, got it.
Yeah.
And sorry I said that word on your show.
It's
I'll tell you
okay. It's okay. YouTube might flag us, but they flagged us for far worse, I can tell you that much.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. You gotta wonder, did the aliens crash land there just so that we
Yeah,
would
were
have
they
to
just
make these
trying
jokes?
to attack me? Was
Yeah.
this a personal attack?
I think it was. I think it was.
Perfect.
Crazy
It
stuff.
worked.
Crazy stuff. Speaking of crazy, I gotta ask you about the current state of
Let's do it.
ufology. We
Okay.
had Obama saying aliens
Mhm.
are
Mhm.
real. On the heels of that, we had Trump coming forward
Yeah.
and claiming that Obama said something classified. I still don't
Yeah.
know how that makes sense. But then Trump would go on to say, I'm going to declassify, I'm going to release
Mhm.
all the reports, all the files on aliens and UFOs. And my God, Megan, did that go viral? I mean, we can't
Yeah.
stop hearing about it now. And now
Mhm.
the Secretary of War saying, yeah, the leadership says to do it. We're going to do it. Congress
Mhm.
members are reacting. It's just insane that we're having this conversation
Yeah.
right
Yeah,
now.
it is. Yeah.
Help me make sense of all of this. What do you think is really going on with Trump
Yeah.
and this, and will we see anything come of all this, I guess, in your opinion?
Yeah, I have so many different thoughts. The very first thing that I always go to is this is narrative control. Like, did Trump need to take the narrative control back if, Obama said something and it got a lot of traction? But also, I think he speaks off the cuff a lot. And I'm glad he followed up with the Truth Social post, saying that he was going to do it. And then it kind of went out of control. And I, I just have so many thoughts. I mean, I also want to think about the timing. So narrative control is the first thing that I think about. Is he wants to be the president of disclosure? He's been deemed the president of disclosure by a bunch of us. So does he want to take that next step and have that on his record that he was the one that was able to go up on the podium and say we are not alone? I mean, that would be absolutely massive for the whole world, right? The
Yeah.
second thing is I want to think about is timing. The timing of this is very interesting to me, with everything that's going on with Iran and every day Trump saying, you better sign this nuclear deal or else, and making some really big threats. It's almost like, well, or else what? Like, do we have a technology that could be revealed in these documents and this declassified file dump that shows like, oh yeah, or else I absolutely will be signing this nuclear deal right now. So that's another thing that I think about. Like, the timing might be interesting of with weapons, and if we reverse engineered something or have a technology and monetizing that. I think the industrial war complex is absolutely real, and I think that if we have something, we have it for a reason. Unfortunately, probably to make money off of it, or to scare our enemies. And the third thing that I want to think about is the private sector and what actually could be revealed. Maybe is he doing this because he knows that there actually isn't anything extremely incriminating in this document dump? Is most of the truth within the UAP, UFO, extraterrestrial life, reverse engineered technology, communication with another species, is most of that hidden within the private sector? And it's not actually in these documents that the Department of Defense, Department of War, would release. So is it something where he's like, oh, I said I was going to do it and I did it. And then we're all like, oh, crap, there's nothing there. But it's like, oh, wait, has the government been hiring all these companies to do their dirtiest of dirty work for all of these years? And they're the actual ones with the information. And we know that from Jake Barber, et cetera, whistleblowers saying, yeah, we work for private contractors. Like, we're going and grabbing these crafts out here on the range in the desert for a private contractor. So those are just a couple things that come to mind. Do I think that we will get something? Yeah, I do. I think it's a lot of buzz, and a lot of buzz, usually gets action from the president. So I'm hopeful that we'll get some information. I'm hopeful that there will be something really good there that we can all, use and think about and learn from. And when I say use, I mean use to, learn, and use to push the case forward, and use to analyze. So I think we'll get something. I'm worried that we'll get what we really want.
Mm. Right. And I always tell people that too, is once we finally get, disclosure or some answers to this, we might not like it. Or it'll either be far more mundane than we thought or far
Mhm.
stranger than we could ever
Mhm.
imagine. Very good points. A lot of people are turning to, well, don't we have an office that's investigating UFOs and it is getting files? And your response right there says it
Yeah,
all, Megan.
we
We
sure do.
have
We sure do.
yeah, we have AARO, and
Yeah.
I think all of us can agree at this point that AARO is compromised
Mhm.
within the United States government. They are
Mhm.
Department Defense
Mhm.
uh, office. They are looking for national security issues. They are looking for what does Russia have, what does China have. They're not out here to prove the existence of aliens or anything like that,
Yeah.
and they will go to far lengths to make that very apparent that even some of
Because
these
they need
anomalies.
to control the narrative.
Exactly. I do believe, as you and Ross have pointed out, that Arrow is narrative based. You look simply at the press conference that John Kozlowski, the new director, did with Senator Kirsten Gillibrand. You had Susan Goff, the press secretary for the Pentagon and the Department of Defense, right behind him. It was so obvious that
Yeah.
if he stepped out of line at all and said anything that could be considered outside the narrative, she was gonna shoot him with those laser eyes. So
Yeah, and I think about
yeah,
that all the time when I think about the New Jersey drone case. It's like there was so much outrage and uproar, and people in the government and local government, and senators and congress people saying, what is this? We need answers. This is a national security issue. And then, a couple days into Trump's presidency, Caroline Levitt gets up and says, we know what it is, not to worry, look away. It's like, well, wait a second. Like, do we actually look away now? I don't really understand. I don't really understand that. So it's like, who's telling who to say what? Um, Almost sounds psyopy, deep statey, who's actually saying, no, sirree, we're not talking about that.
yeah. Welcome to ufology. Yes, it is. It is a mind f if there ever was one.
Yeah. Yeah.
You mentioned the name Jake Barber.
I
I
do.
would be remiss if I did not ask you about all of that. Now, you guys were the one to break the story with Jake
Mhm.
Barber, the egg
Mhm.
UFO, as it has been coined. And there's been some, I guess I don't want to say issues, but some controversy when it comes to Skywatcher, the
Mhm.
group that Jake Barber is now a part of and all that. The things they have
Yep.
promised have not so much come to fruition. Um, However, I think many of us know, like, everything, there's a lot always going on in the
Yep.
background, and
Yep.
things are always moving forward. But
Yes.
could you maybe, as brief as you'd like, I know you've told this story a million times, but
Yeah.
like how you guys came to find Jake, how you came to find the video, and then that itself became kind of a big thing where you got a lot of blowback online about all that. So,
Oh, the
first
internet.
question, how did all
Yeah.
the egg UFO stuff happen? And how are you dealing with the feedback that has come to you guys since then?
Yeah, so, once again, just like David Grusch, Jake is all Ross. That is a Ross contact, that is a Ross source, that is a Ross something that Ross worked for a really, really long time. When I came in and started working on Reality Check, this was starting to get moving, and Jake had just said yes. I knew him by a different name. I was not allowed to know his real name, so we had a code name for him that we used. And I was setting up a bunch of the interviews, like with Carrie Nolan and a bunch of the other, like Fred Baker and a bunch of the other guys who were in that special that we have the solo interviews with as well. I was organizing that and coordinating all of that, and then writing the special. And still, I just did not even know his name. And then I was getting the footage finally, and I finally got to see his face, got to see his name, and the video was the very last piece of the puzzle. So yeah, we got that, and I see people saying stuff about it online. I'm open to everything. Look, if you have a good theory, if you want to debunk it and you want to discuss it with me or send me what you've seen, please send it to me. In no world have I ever said I am an expert in this topic. I have been extremely open about the fact that I've been with Ross for almost 2 years now, and that was my first, I'm in the deep end of this, because I am a serious producer, so I'm serious for him and this topic and for you guys. So I'm open to all of that. I just know what we have, what we wrote, and what we produce, and is solid. And I know Ross extremely well, and I know that he would not put himself on something that he thought was phony or silly or ridiculous.
That's fair. Stand by your work, and the work will speak for itself. Do you have any insights on what's going on with Skywatcher currently? They came
Yeah,
out with 2
I
episodes of
do.
their
Yeah.
show. If you can share, I've heard some stuff in the background about some stuff going on, but if there's anything you can share with our audience, because they kind of went radio silent for a little bit, and I
Yeah.
think we were all
And
looking forward to whatever comes
totally.
next.
And I understand that that's extremely frustrating. The question, this is probably the most asked question that I get every single week by everybody, is what's going on, what's going on, what's going on. I do know what's going on. I unfortunately am not at liberty to say at this time, but we are working on it. We are working on the right time to bring that information forward. But I do know Ross and Jake are in constant contact. When I was with Ross a couple of days ago in person, him and Jake were messaging. So there is a relationship there. There is information there. There is stuff going on, and we're looking for the right time to bring it forward. But I unfortunately just can't share that at this time.
That's fair. Just to hear that things are in motion, I think
Yeah.
is good. Yeah. So I look forward to whatever comes next from
Yeah,
Skywatcher as well. Look,
absolutely.
we need
Me too. Me
yeah,
too.
we need all hands on deck, Megan.
Totally.
So, anyone who's willing to look at these things, I'm all for it.
Mhm.
Okay, so fast forward to Los Angeles. You guys met up. What were you guys doing in LA, and what can we expect next with
Yeah.
Reality Check with
So
what you guys did?
Ross was at Conscious Life Expo. He was asked to be a keynote speaker there. So he was giving a presentation, and then the Trump stuff broke, and it was just like, let's go. We're going to get out there, and we're all going to get together and just do a meeting of the minds. So we filmed some interviews for Reality Check. We did record Ross's speech, which we will, give the whole thing to you guys. And then Ross and I did some stuff together, some recordings together, and then we just kind of hung out and had some beers, had some margaritas, maybe a martini, and we went to dinner and chatted for hours and hours and hours. And I feel bad for anyone at dinner who possibly overheard our conversation, because there was not a topic that was not on the table. So yeah, we were just kind of thinking about the future and different stories that we like, different angles that we like. Him and I are so similar in ways. I mean, he's such an expert in this field and such a genius in this field. And he's really good at telling me, like, hey, Megan, remember, always assume a screw up before a conspiracy, because I'm like a conspiracy, like whatever it is, conspiracy, like first kind of person. So I think we balance each other well, in the sense that he knows this topic so well, but I understand the government very well and Congress very well, just from working in the news for so long and kind of how that inner workings work. And I'm also just very critical of a lot of that inner workings. So I think, he got a good laugh out of, me and my points of view. And, I get a good laugh out of anything he says. He's absolutely hilarious. So yeah, we're just plotting for the future and hanging out. And it was the first time we had ever met in person, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So it was so fun.
Yeah, I can only imagine what it's like being the table next to you and Ross, hearing what you guys. I've been there, like
Yeah.
sitting at a
Oof.
bar talking to another ufologist. People start like leaning in and listening, or
Yeah.
they get as far away from you as
Yeah, they're
possible.
like,
It's
check
one of the
please,
two.
check
Yeah.
please. Yeah. Oops.
Oh,
Our bad.
I've got the most burning question about you and
Okay.
Ross meeting up.
Okay.
What is his drink of choice and what is your drink of choice when you guys were out tipping some back?
We honestly, we were all over the spectrum. As soon as he finished his speech, he was like, "I need a beer." So
Nice.
we went back and we both had beers, and then there were margaritas, and then he had at dinner, he had red wine, and I had a martini or 2.
Classy.
So, we were kind of all over the
Uh,
place, but,
I needed to know. I needed to
yeah.
know.
I'm typically a tequila margarita, like, I don't know, whatever, I'll drink it, I don't care. I'm not gonna be
Yeah,
picky.
who cares? I know.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
a
not gonna be a
whiskey guy.
snob.
I'm a
Yeah,
whiskey guy myself, but,
nice.
I feel like I'm getting too old, and now I'm switching over to, like, gin. I just can't do it anymore, but wow.
Sometimes you have to rotate,
You gotta. You gotta.
just kinda keep it fresh.
I think
Spoken
this
like
is
a
the
true
first
booze hound.
time, right? I think this is the first time I've had this conversation in over
Yeah.
400 episodes, so
Are
thank
you
you.
a millennial? Are you a millennial?
I wish I could say yes, but I'm, like, right at the end of Gen X, so
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay. I'm a millennial, and, we're obviously the generation of booze hounds, but I swear this is coffee. I'm not crazy or anything.
Yes, yes, it's coffee, guys, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, you mentioned the future. I'd love to know, I mean, you're putting out UFO content a little bit over on your own YouTube channel, but a little birdie told me you might be expanding your horizons into the UFO space, as well. Is there anything you can share about what's coming next for you personally when it comes to this topic, Megan?
Sure. Again, this is absolutely shocking to me. I never thought in a million years I would be here. But I am launching a podcast. I have done 5 episodes already. I'm just looking for the right time to get it out there and post it. The internet is a absolutely crazy place, and I'm not used to being the face of anything. I'm used to just being behind the scenes and telling anchors what to say and coming up with their talking points and critically thinking for somebody else. So me being on camera is very different and very new and very scary for me at times, especially dealing with the instant feedback that you get from YouTube commenters or ex posters, etc. So I've shot 5 episodes of a podcast that is something that I'm extremely passionate about, which is conspiracy theories. I love digging into them and thinking about them, and a lot of that lives in the UFO world. But the topics, we're doing things like Antarctica, is Jeffrey Epstein alive, simulation theory, moon, those kinds of things. So it's really kind of like the gateway drug into these theories and into these topics. I just, in this world where we're on our phones 24/7 and you just like see like a crazy video on Instagram and you're like, whoa, wait, what? A reptilian? That's crazy. Keep going. I just want to be the entry level gateway drug of like, hey, you saw that, but let's actually think about it and use common sense logic and talk to some people and see what's actually going on here. And we can make up our own minds on if we subscribe to that or not. So just trying to get more people interested in the different things that we see in this world every single day that, might not believe, but there's a chance. There's a chance.
Yeah. I mean, a conspiracy is crazy until it's proven true. And I
Yeah.
think that's cool. We get these sound bites of things and then we kind of
Mhm.
take it for what it is and move on. But I think it's
Mhm.
really important when it comes to conspiracy theories to use common sense, to use logic, to kind of break it down and look
Yeah.
at the mechanisms. And is there truth to it? Or can we just kind of throw it away
Yeah.
and move on to the next thing? So it's cool that you'll have
Um,
that space to kind of really stretch those muscles and look at these things
Thanks.
rather
Yeah.
than, just taking it for what it is.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite conspiracy theory or UFO case, or will that be covered in the show, I would assume?
Oh my gosh. It'll probably be covered in the show. I mean, I have to say the moon landing. And
Okay.
Ross, I literally was just with this, we disagree on this. We disagree on this so much. And he brings it up as much as he can. He brought it up when we were recording together in LA as well. And he's still trying to convince me to believe in it. And look, I have an open mind. You can convince me. I will openly say I've seen some videos recently where it's like, oh, actually, I that might prove a point that I thought didn't happen on the moon landing, but that's just really hard for me to believe. So I'm trying, I want to cover that on the show, but it's so hard for me to do because my boss wants me to do that one as well. But it's hard for me to do it because I'm trying to do topics that I don't have an opinion either way. So I can think open-mindedly and think critically because I am new to a lot of these topics. So it's like I am the fresh brain, the fresh voice behind it. So I'm trying to do things where I'm not like, oh, my mind is totally made up and I don't believe that. So we'll see.
I love it. Oh, well, I'm very much looking forward to it. Is there a title yet, or are we gonna wait for the grand announcement for that?
Uncommon Sense with Megan Medick. Applying common sense logic to uncommon topics. Uncommon Sense.
Oh my God, that's perfect. I love it. I love it. Well, you heard it here first, guys. I really appreciate you breaking that with us for sure.
Yeah.
And I'll be subscribing. Obvious last question, Megan, before I let you go. I know
Yeah.
you're a busy person. Where can we find everything that you and Ross are doing? What can we expect next with Reality Check? And yeah, give us all those socials. All that stuff.
Yeah. Next with Reality Check, I'm really hoping we get this mummy special up for you guys. It's done. It's ready. We're just waiting for the higher ups, the powers that be, to say approved, hit play. That's an amazing thing that we have put together for you all. So I'm hoping that's next. But yeah, like I'm on YouTube at Producer Meagan. I'm on X, Producer Meagan. Just be kind. Some of the comments are kind of scary sometimes. So yeah, follow me and like let's have fun. But I'll always be nice to you if you want to be nice back. But I appreciate it.
It goes both ways. Yeah, go easy on her, guys. She's only been doing this for like, my God. Yeah. I'm like 30 years in at this point. I'm considered the old guard of ufology now, which is depressing as hell. But
well, how lucky am I that I get to talk to the old guard?
The old guard, as it were. We're gonna knight you eventually. But
Yeah,
no, it is so refreshing, Megan, to see people like you and younger people getting involved in this topic, because it gives me hope that the topic does have a future. And what a time to get involved with the UFO topic. It wasn't like this when I first started. We were the crazy people. And now we are the ones who might have been right all along. And we're happy to have you along for the journey.
Thank you.
So,
thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for coming on Somewhere in the Skies. I hope we can have you back again in the future. So thank you.
Anytime. And again, I'm sorry about the whole lighting thing. Like it's the sun and it's moving around and there's just only so much I can do as a person, so we're just going to roll with it and know that there's different lights going on. So I apologize. I want to be a very professional producer for you, but sometimes I'm just a human. So my bad.
How dare you? How dare you?
Just forgive me. I'm so sorry.
Somewhere in the Skies is part of the Somewhere podcast universe. Please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. To learn more about all of our shows, visit thespu.com.
Spectrovision Radio.
How stupid do you think I am that I'm going to say vagina on camera with you? Like, I don't think so.